Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
Characteristically unshaven for Tuesday because it's the Blueprint Power Hour where I get to join my buddy, Coach Rob Regish, and we answer your questions about anything and everything. And I will warn you that today, at the end of the show, after the Blueprint Power Hour, I've offered Coach to stay or leave because I am going to touch the third rail today at the end of the show because I've got some things that are really bothering me, and I just can't sit silently about them any longer. So I may lose some of you today, or I may win some of you even further, but that'll happen at the end of the show. We want to thank our title sponsor, Legendary Foods. I can't say enough about this tasty pastry. No one can. Everyone who tries one, eats them over and over again because they are so delicious. It won't even matter to you that they have 20 grams of protein. It won't even matter to you that it's less than 1 gram of sugar and 4 to 5 net carbs for those of us who are carb conscious, and everybody should be carb conscious. I'm being honest about that. I know there's a lot of people out there like, oh, carbs aren't the devil. No, they're not the devil. But when you apply carbohydrate consumption the way the average American does, it is the devil because there's just too much calories in carbohydrates. But there are companies out there trying to ease the pain of the low-carb, low-bad food diet. And Legendary is a leader because they can make snacks taste like you shouldn't be eating them. But you can because, like this tasty pastry in front of you, 1 gram, less than 1 gram of sugar. And they're so friggin' delicious. They don't smell funny. Like, a lot of these quote unquote healthy snacks today, you got to hold your fingers over your nose a little bit and just go, well, it's good for me, so that's why I'm going to eat it. You don't have to do that with the tasty pastry. If you're listening to my show right now and you've never tried a tasty pastry, they have so many fantastic flavors. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary. Use the code SHR10. Buy one box, just one. Just buy one box. In fact, tell them, I'm buying this one box because Carl said he will buy it from me if I don't like it, because I will. There you go. But I promise you, once you try a tasty pastry, you will never, ever look at healthy snacks again the same way. You'll realize companies could be making things taste better if they gave a shit. And I just talked to Ron Penna the other day and was telling him how great they taste. And he goes, well, we're not done yet. We're going to do this now. We're going to do that. We figured this out. We're making them ourselves now. We have complete control over production. He didn't, Ron is like, I didn't like the way the icing looked on top. Like he is, when it comes to making these kind of foods, he could get by with a lot less, but he doesn't. And that's why he is who he is. I mean, the truth of the matter is a lot of people were involved at Quest Nutrition. Ron Penna, Mike Osborne, Tom Bilyeu. But the reality is that you can't build a company if your product sucks. And Ron Penna is the reason that Quest bars didn't suck. So I like to attribute the fact that he is really the brains behind Quest. And I also know the whole story about how it started. He is the brains behind Quest because nobody wanted to do it. He set up a little website himself and started selling the bars on the side. when they owned the software company, and everybody thought he was crazy. So yeah, the guy's a genius. He really is. Okay, without further delay, let me get my man on here. Play his theme music.
Calling all Blueprint Army. Fall in line. It's time for the Blueprint Power Hour with Coach Rob Regish on the Superhuman Radio Network.
Hey Rob, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I can echo the sentiments of everything about Legendary that you said, and then some. I would really like to meet Ron, because you look at the product.
If you looked at Ron Penna, and somebody said, "That's Ron Penna. That's the guy who drove $1 billion company," you wouldn't believe it. He doesn't wear jewelry. He usually has a zip-up hoodie on because he complains that he gets cold easily, which is probably a sign that he has fantastic mitochondria. I remember telling him about another friend of mine who just bought a Lamborghini Aventador, which is like a $400,000 or $500,000 car. Now, Ron does drive one of the most expensive Teslas, but he drives a Tesla because he is just fascinated with technology. Like, I remember the first time he took me in, and he was like, "Watch this. We're going to go over these bumps." And he goes, "Now my car learned those bumps. Next time we go over that, it'll adjust the suspension." Like, that's the kind of shit he digs. And I remember saying to him, I went to visit a friend of mine, and he's got this amazing Aventador, and he said, "I just feel like a dick driving around in that car." He's just a regular guy and I'm telling you right now, you're going to hear his name again very shortly in the cancer arena, because what he's been working on since he left Quest is nothing short of a game changer in cancer.
Yeah, look at his, and it's wonderful that he's turning his attention there now. But if you look at the product lineage, right, from when he started from Quest bars to the chips, and then the nut butters, and now the tasty pastries, it's the relentless pursuit of perfection. It's and every single one of those products is at the top of its class. And I'll tell you, it's a rare individual in this business, and I'm talking about the supplement business, that's like that. It's really it's a breath of fresh air.
Taylor C says he thinks they put crack in tasty pastries if he has a problem. I know, right? They are so effing good. I can't imagine there's anything else out there today in the health, sports, nutrition, healthy snacking arena that even comes close to how delicious and wonderful tasty pastries are. I really mean that.
You're dieting right now, right?
Oh God, and I'm miserable. I'm tired all the time. Yeah, I'm eating one meal a day. My one meal a day is a pound of beef.
Yep.
And about a cup and a half of rice. And I have that when I get home. But today I broke that. I went to the gym this morning. I trained. I had no friggin' energy, as expected. And I did have 6 eggs and a piece of steak after I trained. So,
do you allow yourself one tasty pastry?
I'd have a better shot at eating. I mean, I don't know. I can't eat one tasty pastry. And I justify it. Elisa laughs. Like, I say, but I'm big. I should get 2. And if you want to do something amazing with a tasty pastry, pick your favorite flavors and smear cream cheese between them, or peanut butter. Use the Legendary Foods sugar-free nut butters.
Yeah.
And make yourself a sandwich out of 2 of them.
It's a great idea.
And while you're eating it, just say to yourself, "I deserve this. This is so fucking good. I deserve this."
It's an easy thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, there's so, and I happen to know that Legendary is coming out with some new snacks that will leave every other one of these companies in the dust.
That's exciting too.
In the dust. So yeah, no, but I love to see companies and people who do good, who it comes from their heart. They do good. They don't. Ron doesn't go, "I'm going to make these because I'll make a lot of money." Ron's got a lot of money. Ron. If Ron made more money, it wouldn't change his life. But he does this because he really believes that people deserve to be able to enjoy themselves and also stay in their dietary template, in their lane. the dietary lane.
That's fantastic. More power to him.
Yeah, great guy, right?
Yeah,
And when I get confused about business, I call Ron.
'cause he knows.
By the way, first of all, I should say that I am very, very fortunate to be able to reach out to him. Like I'm kind of stuck with the gun leash. So for those of you who know about the gun leash, we're going to do a soft launch in 30 days. We're going to sell 100 of them, and we're going to see if there's really an interest in not losing your handgun. And so, like I was telling Ron, I was like, I don't know what the next step is. He goes, well, how hard would it be to build 100? I says, no, pretty easy. We could get 100 probably built in a week. And the app is almost done. The app will be done in 30 days. He goes, well, just build 100, go on Mark Bell's podcast and, reach out to your friends, get out there and talk about it and see if you can sell 100.
Yeah.
Because he said, because if you can sell 100, you can sell 500. If you can sell 500, you can sell 50,000.
He's right.
And I was like, oh my God, like, why am I'm working so hard to find investors and all this other stuff. And he's spot on. I just need to sell 100. That's my proof of concept. That's it.
Yeah. I hope it goes well. I predict it will. We'll see.
So Taylor C says he wants me to make one of those sandwiches and bring them in and eat it on the air. I'm out of tasty pastries, but I'll get some and I'll do it for you. All right, let's go. Our first question. Our first question comes from Ron Moorhead. What do you think is the most overlooked facet of bodybuilding by those who practice it? I know what I think.
Well, I mean, there's a million things that you could answer here. But for me, it's very easy. Building a world-class immune system and staying healthy. So until just recently, training to build strong immune function was given lip service, right? I mean, it really wasn't something that people attributed a lot of importance to. The world got a wake-up call, though, in 2020, that if it wasn't priority number one, it was damn close. It really depended upon your current state of health is, I guess. Recall, though, the early days, right, when the only thing that was determining literally life and death was the relative strength of your innate immune system, because they weren't doing some of the stuff that they are doing today to treat it. And that's, for some people, that's a very scary proposition because they've made poor lifestyle choices for a long time. But if you look at it categorically, building robust immune system, it really is the sum total of what we call body after accounting for your God-given genetics. People forget things like the immune system and not just biceps or what you're building when you're in the gym, because the same fundamentals go into both. Proper, consistent training, eating a good diet, fresh foods, getting a good night's sleep, and, in some cases, taking concentrated nutrients / supplements to fill any gaps. If you remove just one of those first three pillars, though, your immune system can crash and burn, even if, for example, you just screw up sleep for a night or two. That's all it takes sometimes for an opportunistic infection to gain the traction that it does and do its damage. The old masters of the bodybuilding game, I'm talking about guys like Perry Rader and Vince Gironda, they understood this. And it's the reason why they lived in many cases to such a ripe old age. And they remained a lot more robust in those later years as well. There was a reason Gironda favored raw, fertile eggs and fresh cream, or half and half, as the basis for his shakes, and not quote unquote protein powder, which at that time I would imagine what they had on the shelves was soy and maybe milk and egg. But he understood that real live food had what he called life force in it versus, say, a dead protein powder or weight gainer that's been sitting on the shelves for weeks or months. Funny anecdote, when Metrex was all the rage, He was allegedly so tired of fielding questions about it when it was new or newer, so to speak. He kicked more than a few people out of his gym just for asking about it. And I'm talking permanently. He was a very cantankerous old fella, at least as most accounts will show you. Look, you want to eat the best foods, you want to keep reasonable hours, and understand your body and how it works, meaning know how to physically stress it enough, but not too much for an adaptive response without compromising your immune system. Too much training tanks immunity. Too little training doesn't boost immunity. More senescent cells, right? You're in a worse position from an immune system perspective. You need to know how to do these things, everything, training, diet, rest, even supplements, because it's not playtime anymore when it comes to this issue. And God only knows, what we're going to be up against next. I don't know what that is. What I can tell you is almost 100% your innate immune system will still be the determining factor as to whether or not a lot of people live or die, regardless of whatever acute treatments they come up with, regardless of if they come up with a vaccine that actually works, regardless of all that stuff, your underlying immunity matters. And the classic example is when you go for, let's say, a flu shot, which is a real vaccine, but people with a crappy immune system, that shot doesn't work nearly as well.
In fact, there was a study that showed that even modest levels of obesity make the flu shot less effective. Why is that? Because modest levels of obesity, usually you have a deranged immune system.
Yep.
A vaccine only works if it triggers your immune system to be aware of this next assault. But if your immune system is jacked, vaccines don't do anything. Maybe that's the problem we're having today. We have people that have been vaccinated, double vaccinated, boosted, and they're still getting the virus.
Yeah, it's a curious state of affairs, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I tell you. Immunity is the one big thing that people need to focus on. If there's one thing to focus more on, I would tell you that would be it.
And Joel Green in his book, The Immunity Code, he proves that those people who have poor immune systems can't build muscle.
Did you have him on as a guest?
Oh, several times, yeah.
Oh, okay. So I was going to say his name sounds familiar.
Several times. I mean, he made the connection between the immune system and muscle gains. It's there.
Right.
That might be another reason why young guys do better than old guys. Of course, by the time you're old, your immune system is jacked. Let's go to the next question. The next question comes from Roger Gimlin. Are some people just more injury prone than others? And if so, how can I avoid it? I seem to be getting hurt a lot lately, and it's not just because I'm getting older.
Well, in some respects, it's an easy question to answer, but in other respects, it's a very, very difficult one. So let's talk about why. It would be more accurate, I think, to say some people are more injury prone than others. But when you really look underneath the hood, there are usually tangible reasons why you are or not, right, or not, as the case may be, injury prone. Now, we're all familiar, for example, with the extreme ectomorph on this end of the scale, right? And maybe 140 pounds sopping wet, 6 feet or more. He's trying to squat. If he is trying to squat 240 during the first week of his training, it's not going to end up well. It's the proverbial cannon trying to be, shot out of a canoe. Bad things are going to happen. That person's going to get hurt. Alternatively, someone may be trying to lift, as I said before, too heavy and too often, or to make too big of a leap in training volume or total tonnage before the body is ready for it. I'll tell you now, if you're used to doing one set to absolute muscular failure, i.e. HIIT training, and you want to jump to German volume training, 10 sets of 10, you're probably opening yourself up to rhabdo and a few other things that ain't so good. It needs to be gradual and measured. Poor form, that's another big reason why people get hurt. Eventually, it catches up with you, um, but not always, meaning some people will live with good form and a reasonable rate of progression, and they still get hurt, right? It makes you wonder why. Now, it could be that they're performing a movement that just doesn't agree with them, right? Or more frequently, using movement they really like, and they perform it too often, which leads to something called pattern overload. There's also the problem of what I call swimming upstream, meaning, if you're 6'5" and 150 with tiny little bird joints and a super fast metabolism, powerlifting or strongman is not likely going to be, your gig, something that you're really good at. Many of those people, though, will still want nothing more in the world than to be big and strong. So they continue to train in that style, and it causes problems. Eventually leads to frustration, injury, and switching gears for those folks can be incredibly difficult to do. Very difficult exercise in itself. Mentally and emotionally, it feels like they're giving up, when in reality, they're just doing, I think, what's necessary not to get hurt. So that same ectomorph who is not suited well at all to strongman or powerlifting, he might be the ideal candidate for calisthenics, right? Body weight exercise, because he has a much better chance of fulfilling his potential as a pound for pound strength athlete versus absolute strength, which is going to be your, 3 lift total in powerlifting. So, there's a lot of different things that go into it. I think if all goes as planned, or as it should, with age comes wisdom. And switching gears, like I did, for example, at age 50, moving mostly to calisthenics, that was the right move for me at the time. My joints are all largely still intact, and the goal as part of that switch was to make sure that that's the case for a long, long time, however much longer I have. You don't get there trying to swim upstream, though, nor are injuries inevitable, permanent, or whatever else you like to call them. There's, almost all of them are treatable. Simply a matter of switching gears and going with the flow, I think, of your physiology. That's the single most powerful thing you can do to avoid injury, other than lifting reasonable weights, poundages, and staying away from things like pattern overload. As a matter of fact, Larry Scott published a system back in the 80s. I forget the name of it, but its entire premise was very frequent changes in the exercise template. And he maintained that not only will you grow better that way, but also you would avoid injuries and, in fact, rehab old injuries if you were beat up. Something to think about.
Richard Miller, the fitness freak, is watching us live right now while laying on a gurney,
Ooh.
getting ready for emergency surgery for a detached retina.
Oh, man.
He says, I'm in my gown. Doc says injectable testosterone will cause me hair loss and raise estradiol levels. What say you, gentlemen? Well, first of all, if your doctor can just look at you and know that by giving you testosterone is going to increase 5-alpha reductase, which is DHT, hair loss, and estradiol, then he shouldn't be a doctor. He should be playing the lottery, because this guy can just look at you and know. Now, keep in mind that research shows that people who are high aromatizers tend not to be high alpha reducers. Let me repeat that for the doc. Maybe he's listening, right? Research shows that men who seem to have a higher degree of aromatase enzyme converting more testosterone to estradiol tend to have far lower levels of 5-alpha reductase, the enzyme that converts testosterone to DHT. So it's impossible for you to be both. Scientifically, physiologically, impossible. Now, with that being said, why doesn't the good doctor give you your testosterone, and follow your blood work over the course of 6 months to determine if you're even a high 5-alpha reducer or aromatizer. I mean, I used very high doses of testosterone, and my estradiol was never, ever over like 43 nanograms. But I am a high 5-alpha reducer, as you can see, because people with dark skin tend to produce more DHT as opposed to estradiol from their testosterone. But all of this is moot. He can't look at you and tell you that without putting you on the drug, watching you for months, and then determining whether or not you are getting dangerously high levels. And let's be honest, all this is symptom-based. What if you don't lose hair? Yeah. What if you don't get sensitive nipples from the estradiol? No, your doctor is probably a very nice guy or gal and wants to err on the side of caution, but completely abandon science in doing so.
Yeah, I was going to say, if doctors were able to do this with any reasonable accuracy, why have blood work done?
Yeah, why do blood work? They just look at you and go, you need 250 milligrams of testosterone a week and nothing else, because I can just look at you and tell you're not going to produce any DHT.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a silly discussion that doctors like to have, because doctors who do nothing tend to be less liable than doctors who do something. So it has nothing to do with your health outcome. It has all to do with them not wanting to make a decision. That's really what it is.
I'm confused as to the association, right? He's having surgery for a detached retina. My initial thoughts went right to my father, because he had the same thing. I can tell you the emergency surgery is the smart thing to do, because as my dad's finding out, that didn't happen in his case. And I was told by more than one eye doctor that if they don't reattach it, fairly quickly, it's not a good prognosis.
And I have a degree in ophthalmics. Many of you may remember that when I was a young man, I went to school to be an optometrist, but I abandoned that because I made a lot more money selling water conditioners in Las Vegas, Nevada. So I want to give you a tip. If you're somebody who has a trauma-based detached retina, well, there's not a lot you can do about that. But if you're somebody where your eye doctor is saying the aqueous and vitreous humor, the gel-like substance that fills the globe of your eye, is shrinking. It's shrinking with age. And so what happens is, think of a basketball and think of the air inside the basketball as the gel inside your eye. And think of the pressure of the gel or the air pushing against the inner walls of the basketball, and that keeps your retina, this very, 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 very thin membrane of rods and cones and chemicals that create color. And when it usually detaches in an area called the fovea centralis, which is really very close to the optic nerve. But with that being said, if the reason you have a detached retina isn't because of blunt force, like you got hit in the back of the eye, in the back of the head, but it just kind of happened, then chances are what you need is mega doses of vitamin C. Because here's something that your optometrist won't tell you. Aqueous and vitreous humor in your eye is almost 60% vitamin C.
Wow, that's staggering.
I just told this to a girl who told me that her retina is becoming detached. I grew up with her, Phyllis. And I said, start taking about 3 or 4 grams of vitamin C every day. Drink plenty of water. Your floaters will even go away. Because the floaters are proteins caught in the aqueous and vitreous humor. And when the aqueous and vitreous humor starts to dry out, it creates these crevices, kind of like you see in the desert. When the desert dries out, how the soft mud opens up. So you get these inside your eye. And that is what floaters are. I know people who started taking vitamin C and their floaters went away and never came back. Go figure that one out. How could that be? Oh, wait, that's right. The material in your eye is 60% vitamin C.
Yeah, score another one for vitamin C. You need a lot more than 60, what is it, 60 milligrams to prevent
Yeah.
scurvy. It's a crime that the RDI is not higher. I mean, they'll probably never get to the place where they recommend gram amounts. But in this case, as in others, that's what it takes.
And here's something else Taylor C puts up that's worth mentioning, just in case the doctor is standing there. The fastest way to lower aromatase enzyme in the body, the fastest way is vitamin C and zinc in conjunction, because they actually limit the production, the biogenesis of aromatase in fat cells. A slower way to lower aromatization is lose more body fat, because every fat cell is where the aromatase lives. So if you destroy its house, it has no place to live anymore.
Great.
And lastly, most importantly, in the P450 cytochrome enzyme cascade, aromatase enzyme is next to cyclooxygenase enzyme. Ever hear of COX-1 and COX-2 associated with inflammation? So the more inflammation you have, the more COX-1 and COX-2 your body produces. The more COX-1 and COX-2 your body produces, the more it can donate to create more aromatase. So vitamin C, zinc, lose body fat, and take fish oil and reduce your whole body inflammation. And you'll find out all of a sudden that testosterone is not becoming estradiol anymore. But don't tell your doctor that, because he can't do any of those things. He's got to give somebody a Remedex or something like that. And he does, and Richard does say two separate things. I'm laying here for surgery, but wanted to ask about my doc told me about the test a couple weeks ago. Sorry for the confusion. No, that's cool. Yeah. And no trauma to the eye. They said it just happened. You better start drinking a lot of water and taking vitamin C. Start out with 5 or 6 grams a day. I take 10 grams of vitamin C a day. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. There you go.
Great advice.
And we have some other great advice that I'm going to give you from yesterday's show when we come back from the break. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I'm going to tell you something that came out of a show yesterday that was possibly one of the most important things that we discussed about a research study on time-restricted feeding, cancer, and heart disease. You're going to love it. So let's do this. We'll take a quick commercial break. Please stay with us. In fact, share the show, and we'll be right back. Are you 35 or older? Every year after puberty, your growth hormone decreases, sometimes by 50% by the age of 35, and it only keeps going down from there. This affects everything from making it harder to recover from workouts, sleep, and a general loss of a sense of well-being. It also affects your ability to get and stay lean. BioPro Plus is the first of its kind, 100% non-synthetic alternative to prescription synthetic growth hormone treatments. All the benefits without any of the needles or side effects, and 100% safe. Previously only available through doctors, you can go to shrnetwork.biz/biopro, that's BIOPRO, and use code SHR30 for $30 off today. Remember those rectangular toaster pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake-style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high-quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today. Being superhuman means being conscientious about the choices we make. White Oak Pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare, land regeneration, and rural revival. They responsibly manage the entire process from the pasture to your doorstep. High quality pasture raised qualities, great tasting meat from a farm you can trust. Full nose to tail selections. They even have options for your pet. Go to shrnetwork.biz/white oak and use the code SUPERHUMAN to save 10% off your entire first order. I would easily say that I am the hugest proponent you will ever meet to doing anything that will improve the quality of my sleep. And that's because sleep is linked to just about every metabolic disorder we see in our population today. One of the easiest things you can do to improve the quality of your sleep is to get a pillow that can be shaped into the exact form factor that allows you to get your best night's sleep. And that is MyPillow. I've been sleeping with MyPillow for a few years now, and I can tell you that when I have to travel and stay in hotels, I don't get a good night's sleep because I don't have MyPillow with me. Right now, you can save up to 60% off of everything offered to improve the quality of your sleep at shrnetwork.biz/MyPillow when you use the code SHR. Or you can call toll-free 800-889-4938. And remember to use code SHR to save up to 60% off of everything at their website. How often do you wake up in the morning and instantly wish you had just another hour of sleep? Maybe you didn't get enough sleep, or you have brain fog, your energy is low, or you just can't concentrate. You run for coffee or an energy drink, but that barely moves the needle. Imagine having control over how you feel and being able to just flip a switch and turn on your brain within 10 minutes of waking up without coffee or caffeine. I've personally experienced this over the past few months since trying Newtopia. Newtopia is the most advanced brain support and cognitive enhancement system that I've ever tried. It's like a chemistry set for your brain. Newtopia specializes in personalized brain supplements, also known as nootropics. Newtopia has raised the bar on the nootropic category beyond anything that exists today. Go to shrnetwork.biz/Newtopia. That's NOOTOPIA and enter the code SHR10 for an additional 10% off. You will not be disappointed in this product.
Move over, superheroes. This is the Superhuman Channel.
I don't know what was happening to my camera. I had a ghost in the system.
The audio cut out for just a second.
Yeah, I know. So before we move forward with today's show, I want to mention something about yesterday's show, which will be published later today on the website. So yesterday we did a show with the scientist who published a study that looked at the effects of intermittent fasting or time-restricted feeding on a well-known problem. What is the well-known problem? Chemotherapy. 76% of people who undergo chemotherapy become spontaneously diabetic. And as such, they develop visceral fat, fat around the heart, fat around the liver, fat in the liver, fat in the muscles, just like somebody who's slowly become diabetic. And there are a handful of chemotherapies that destroy the heart in a dose-dependent basis. In other words, if you go for one chemo treatment, your heart has damage. You go for 2, more damage. 3, more damage. More. And usually what happens to women with breast cancer who get this type of treatment for cancer is they die from heart problems. They don't die from the cancer. So the scientists looked at putting these people on a time-restricted, 8-16 eating cycle. They ate 8 hours a day. They ate whatever they wanted, 16 hours. And on top of that, they didn't have to do it on the weekends. It was just Monday through Friday. So socially, they could go out and party, do whatever they want. In just 6 weeks, the markers for the well-understood heart problems that they would develop just started going away. And they didn't even care about weight loss. These women did lose some weight. That wasn't the goal. The goal was to see if there was a dietary therapeutic approach that could correct this phenomenon, because after all, we know it's metabolic in nature, right? Your insulin is raging, your blood sugar is raging, your body is putting fat where it doesn't belong. And we already know that, like, if you can reverse someone's type 2 diabetes, they can avoid all that. And you can't put them on a keto diet, and you can't put them on this diet. You had to say to them, look, keep eating whatever you eat, but just do it in 8 hours a day. So they were able to eat up to 8 p.m. at night. Then they had to stop, and everybody stuck to it, and everybody looked good. And the next study is going to be even better because they're going to look at a lot of different markers we talked about. But here's the takeaway. If you or someone you know has undergone chemotherapy, then 8 out of 10 times they have developed some level of metabolic derangement. And it doesn't go away. That was the other thing she talked about. Like once the chemo stops, it's not like as though all that goes away. It's you're stuck with that visceral fat around your heart, the fat in your liver, the fat in your muscles that continue to destroy you. So if you or someone you know has undergone chemo, you need to really look at dietary interventions because you are most likely going to die from metabolic related diseases.
That's a staggering number. 8 out of 10.
Yes, spontaneously.
Oh, God. Crazy.
And then, and then on top of that, if you're being treated by a stupid doctor that's got you on statin drugs, by the way, the need for statin drugs went away. Like all the markers that would have a doctor prescribe drugs for you because you have a high risk of heart problems as a result of the chemo and the onset of insulin resistance, they all went away. They didn't need their statin drugs anymore. So think about that. When's the last time an oncologist sat down and said, okay, I'm going to give you chemo, but we're going to put you on a different kind of a diet because we want to cut your risk of redeveloping cancer. Why do I say that, Carl? Why do you say that? Because I even said this to the scientists yesterday. Who develops cancer at the largest rate in our population? People who are insulin resistant. So the CDC says the number 1 and number 3 killer in America is heart disease and cancer. But that's a lie because those are both the result of insulin resistance. Those are both the result of metabolic derangement. I mean, it's like saying the number 1 reason that homes catch fire is because of a book of matches that was left in the living room. Of course, that's not true. Someone had to pick that book of matches up and strike it. So why would we want to address books of matches when we could really address the real cause for the cancer, and that is the person who took the book of matches and lit it and lit the curtains? Talking about heart disease and cancer without talking about the reason so many people are getting heart disease and cancer is really derelict. And I say the people at the CDC should all be fired. They should all be summarily fired because either they're too stupid to put that together, which means they shouldn't be there, or they're corrupt. And neither one of those are legitimate reasons to let them keep their job.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. If it does away with the need for medication, that's a lot of lost income for a lot of people, not just the pharmaceutical company, the pharmacist, the pharmacy, the doctor. I mean, a lot of people don't get their cut.
And let's not forget, we've talked on this show about dietary interventions used during cancer treatment over the years. Too many for me to go back and list this one and that one. But one of them, which we talked about yesterday, was a group of people were put on a ketogenic diet in preparation to get chemotherapy. Okay? Because there were some other studies that indicated that a ketogenic state, having the body in a ketosis, running less on sugar and more on ketones, actually protected the healthy cells and made the cancer cells more vulnerable to treatment. Think about that. What? So in other words, if you're going to get chemo, they put you on keto, on the keto diet for a month or two, and only the cancer cells get damaged and the healthy cells stay healthy. Now, why wouldn't any doctor want that?
Yeah, well, like I said before, it cuts the need for medication, and at some point, these people even end up taking prescription drugs to counter the side effects from the original prescription drug. So, it's a big profit fest for a lot of people. And if you,
And that study that showed that chemo was more effective at killing the cancer
yeah,
and leaving the healthy cells alone if you were in a state of ketosis, went on and followed these patients, because a lot of the patients that were in that study decided, well, I'm just going to eat this way forever. And the
yeah,
recidivism rate of their cancer was 0. Other people went home. They decided, I'm just going to go back and eat the shit food that gave me cancer in the first place. And they got cancer again.
where do you hear that? That should be screamed from every rooftop, every newspaper, every website in the United States, in the world for that matter, and you never hear it.
No.
Sad.
And that's why I ask people to share shows. I really do, because you don't know. There's somebody out there right now undergoing chemotherapy, been diagnosed with cancer. The first thing I would tell them to do is buy Dr. Thomas Seyfried's book, Cancer as a Metabolic Disease, and follow the edicts in that book directly. So I have a friend who has a friend who came to me 5 months ago. She was diagnosed with a rare brain cancer, and she had 8 tumors. And they did chemo and nothing happened, and they sent her home. They told her she has 6 months to a year to live. Beautiful woman, really, my age, in her 60s. My friend Billy gets me on the phone with her, and I'm telling her, I said, look, you got to change your life. And so what she ended up doing was these things. She went full on keto. She uses intermittent fasting. She's asleep by 9 o'clock every night. She knows not to eat 3 hours before bed. She exercises outdoors whenever possible. Okay. And she took a experimental peptide that we introduced her to. I think it was called PNC 27, along with thymosin alpha 1 in conjunction, fairly large doses. Now, keep in mind, they told her to go home and die. I mean, they said there's nothing we can do. So now there's only 2 of the 8 tumors left.
Wow. Wow.
Now, of course, our oncologist is going to take credit for this.
Right.
But this girl is working so hard. She's using ketone esters to keep her ketone levels high. She took her lifestyle. See, most people will be like, I can't eat bread and pasta. Oh, man. She was like, fuck that. I want to live. Okay, here's what you got to do. It's going to be hard. And it wasn't hard. She embraced it. She's living the life, and she has so much energy now, she says, and she feels so good. And 6 of the tumors are gone.
That's crazy.
So folks, the mainstream media, the Today Show, the Tonight Show, all these horrible outlets for misinformation are costing millions of lives today unnecessarily. And then there's a shitty little podcast like this that'll share a secret with somebody that'll change the outcome of their death and their life. It's frustrating to me. It really is.
Yeah. Well, hopefully more people get the word. That's not the only time I've heard, somebody's prognosis going from grim to almost great by a change in diet. Simple change in diet.
I just got into an exchange on Facebook. There's a girl that I told about the book like a year ago, and she said she had breast cancer. Now, I know she didn't follow anything I said, because she said, well, because of her genetics, she said, And I said, did you ever buy the book that I told you to buy? Did you ever look up the studies on monozygotic BRCA twins? Look, like, you have to be a fucking dummy to read a study that says these are monozygotic twins. They came from the same ovary, the same zygote. So, and a lot of times they're left-handed and right-handed twins. They call them mirror twins of sisters. They both have the BRCA gene. One got breast cancer, one didn't. Wouldn't science want to know what the one that didn't get breast cancer did differently? They don't. They don't want to know. They don't even want to talk about her because that doesn't fit the fucking narrative. Like, look, your genes are not a death sentence. Now, if in fact you do things that make those genes angry, yeah, it's a death sentence. But the magic in that is it's in your power not to do those things. Now, do you really want to live or do you just say you want to live? Because women who go for chemo, go for estrogen blockade therapy, get their cancer under control, and go back and continue to eat the way they ate, drank the alcohol, disregarded the quality of their sleep and all, you will have cancer again. I guarantee it. You will have cancer again.
Yeah, I mean, I would concur. I have seen, look, I'm not a doctor, but I have seen many cases of people's, like I said, prognosis completely doing a 180 by doing some or many of these things. And the ketogenic diet, generally speaking, is a good one, and it has an uncanny ability to improve many different maladies. So,
Polo Destino said he had cancer as a child and he had radiation therapy and it did things to his abdomen that have the silver lining is he has digestive problems and it's pretty much kept him thin his whole life. I joke. I have friends who say, well, how can I lose weight fast? I say, get cancer. And I say it jokingly, right? But when people have cancer, they lose weight really, really, really fast. But that's not the kind of weight you want to lose. Aiden Ray says, nutrition and hormone correction are huge in correcting insulin resistance. Yes. But that would be basically eliminate the big pharma industry. Why is this the government PSA? Why isn't this the government PSA? You know, number one risk factor outside of your age for COVID-19 sequelae is also insulin resistance. That's right.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you why it's not, more widely reported. Most of the major cable news networks derive almost 75% of their ad revenue from big pharma. And 75% buys a lot of influence. That's why you don't hear about it.
Remember when they kicked tobacco off the air?
I saw a commercial from the 1950s today, just real quick. It was a doctor seated at his desk, and the narrator, he's smoking a cigarette, and he said, of 1,000 doctors surveyed, 90% preferred cigarette was Camel. And they show him taking a long, right? And it makes you think about how the world's changed. But here's the thing. Those big tobacco execs, they were ultimately held accountable for what they knew and when.
Right.
And if that doesn't sound familiar about what's going to happen with current events, then I don't know what to tell you. That's my fear. I don't think big pharma is ever going to be held accountable, and I'll tell you why. Because I think big pharma is so deep in bed with big government. I mean, you got to believe Fauci got money back out of all this orchestration for this. Oh, yes.
No other therapy works but a vaccine. Just take the vaccine. Come on, man. Like, look, a lot of us being dumb is convenient because then what am I going to do? Right. So, okay. But you don't have to be. You can still recognize when you're being lied to and just say, but there's nothing I can do. But don't just go along with it because it's more convenient. Because this is what just happened to us. The vaccine doesn't work. People still get the virus with the vaccine. People still die. They're still dying. Some of them are dying from the vaccine. It's not better today than it was before.
In fact, there's a new disorder in ICD-9 code, which are the codes that medical staffers enter. It's called SADS, Sudden Adult Death Syndrome. So listen, it's not funny, but your friend or family member drops dead, a week after getting vaxxed. Oh no, that has nothing to do with the vax. That's SADS. Haven't you heard?
Yeah.
People, any person for any reason, any demographic, any age, any race, they just happen to drop dead from something, and that something has been given a name now, SADS. Frankly, I think if you look at that and you fall for that, and you and you still roll your sleeve up and say, "Hey man, give me some more spike protein," I think you deserve what's coming.
They
I hate
want
to
to
say it.
sue. Sean Watson said they want to sue gun makers, but you can't sue big pharma for killing thousands. Exactly right. But
Yeah.
there's a different reason. If you had enemies, you'd want to disarm them, right?
Yeah, well, yeah,
Well,
you need to do that.
the government sees the people of this country as the enemy. If you haven't made that connection yet, then they're a little dense. Why would they want to take guns away from law-abiding citizens? We have 300 million guns in this country, and clearly, if guns were a problem, there'd be a lot more deaths than the occasional deaths we see today. And don't forget, all of the deaths we see today are done with illegally obtained guns. No one talks about Chicago every weekend, 30, 40, 50 people getting shot there. Oh, no, that's nothing to see here. Just keep going. No, nobody wants to talk about New York and LA and all the gun play there. Those are all illegal guns. All of these things that these politicians want to do, they want to take guns away from legally owned, law-abiding citizens. Ask yourself why. We are not the threat. We're not the ones out there shooting everybody. You know, part of the biggest problem we have today is we have a relatively dumb fucking population. Like the fact that they buy this idea that shutting down the Keystone Pipeline and canceling all the oil leases when he came into office has nothing to do with gas prices right now. Or the fact that they printed trillions of dollars of money we don't have, and that has nothing to do with inflation. We have a dumb population. You know, this is why like plagues are good. A lot of times plagues kill dumb people. You know, they clean up the herd.
Going along with things that clearly don't make sense. If you look at it logically, going along with those things is a prime example of what I call groupthink. They will discourage any questioning, any critical thinking whatsoever. And in 10 years, people are going to look back and say, "My God, how did we get duped?"
And you can't unwind it, because when the government takes your civil liberties away, they don't.
Oh, they never come back.
And
No,
we
they
made a
don't.
mistake. Let's go back and let them do it. All right, this question comes from Bob Patterson. He says, "What do you make of AST's new product lineup?" I didn't know they had one. So it looks like ursolic acid. What is VP2? DHEA, DGC. What are these things? What is this?
Well, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. For reference sake, there's nothing really new here. So for example, VP2, that's their whey isolate, right? I mean, the whey isolate is certainly nothing new. Likewise, DHEA is rather 1996, and they round out their quote-unquote anabolic offering with oral ursolic acid, which we have known now for a long time that it doesn't work, right? I mean, maybe in a transdermal, but not orally. You can take gobs and gobs and you're not going to see anything. Other things like the R isomer of alpha lipoic acid, that's solid, okay? But again, it's nothing new or special. It goes back a good 30 years, truth be
You get it at
told.
Walgreens.
Yeah. Now, some listeners might be disappointed to find out that DGC, which sounds pretty edgy, refers to dextrorotary glucose crystals, also known as sugar. I'm not kidding. They've got a micronized creatine too, but again, who doesn't, right? Their multivitamin isn't bad, but it's not the best I've seen either. Their latest offering is something called Muscle Energy or Muscle Synergy or something. And it's a powdered EAA formula, which in fact is almost entirely BCAAs with just a sprinkling of EAAs and some electrolytes, which aren't a bad idea, but there's nothing earth-shattering about it, right? There's nothing different, nothing in it that's going to make it work any better than regular plain essential amino acids for half the cost. Now, perhaps what is most telling in my mind anyway, is what you don't see AST selling anymore from a once innovative and edgy brand. Their entire company was built on the back of Dimetadrine 25, Dimetadrine Extreme, the pre-workouts, right, with ephedra. I'm telling you, almost the entire company, at least the early years, was built on that products. And today, they have nothing, no product in that category of a pre-workout or a fat burner that I have seen, and that's pretty staggering to me. Quite a bit, very staggering. Now, in the past, they have experimented and failed miserably with a number of other products, everything from beef protein isolate to melatonin to pro hormones, which, okay, that last example, it might have been the fact that they got banned and people went nuts with the stuff, and some people got hurt being stupid. That sank that. But the bottom line is it sank. And so it was, stinker after stinker. The situation, I would tell you today, is so sad that I almost feel sorry for him, which is really saying something, because for years I carried a grudge against AST. It was customer service related thing. I was extremely loyal. I was extremely excited whenever that company came out with something. But apparently I made one too many phone calls and asked one too many questions. They accused me of working for the competition. But suffice it to say, karma appears to have come around and visited AST. And today, most of what they do have left isn't even in stock. I mean, you look at half of the products that I just mentioned that apparently are for sale, they aren't in stock. Nor do I see them at various other retailers, right? So, look, this is a sad but a fitting end to a once great company. You're not going to find anything edgy there. You're not going to find anything that works any better than any other version at another company. It is, however, a great example of how people's and companies' fortunes can change, which is something I never forgotten. So, which is to say, you don't stick it to good customers, especially loyal ones.
They did it to me too. When pro hormones were all the rage, they had a nice selection of the nandrolone molecules, the testosterone, the precursors that they had. They had
5-diol.
5-diol, 4-diol. They had a lot of good stuff. And I bought half a dozen bottles of different stuff. And I'm trying to think where I bought it. I think I bought it at like some local GNC or something like that. And I noticed something, like when I opened up the bottle and I poured out a couple capsules, like, wow, this capsule looks fairly empty. And so, I pushed the capsule together and squeezed it. And I could see that these capsules weren't filled completely. So like the idiot I was new to this, I go to a pharmacy. I say, hey, can you weigh these individual? Yeah, sure. Wait. It was like 60 caps. And each one was supposed to be, I don't know, 500 milligrams or something like that. And he came out and he said, well, these 6 are pretty much empty. And he said you got capsules in here that range anywhere from 325 milligrams to, whatever. And it was really not that, because, there's filler in there. So maybe it was like the capsules weighed anywhere from 300 to 750 milligrams. These 3 are almost completely empty. So, and then he said to me, these supplement companies, they're not held to real tight standards. They don't have to, meet like a certain fill rate, which was bullshit. That wasn't true. And I remember contacting AST, and I said, told him the story. And he said, okay, we'll send you some coupons. And I said, can I use the coupons at GNC? No, you got to use them on our website. Well, the rub was, like, at GNC, let's say the bottle cost me $29. But on their website, it was like $69. and they were going to give me a $10 discount on a $69 bottle.
Yeah.
And that was it. I thought, I'll never buy anything from them again. And I didn't. And that was probably, I'll tell you when that was. That was probably 1998, 1999 that I bought that. And I never bought another thing from AST Research. And I didn't complain. I didn't say, fuck you, I'm never going to buy anything from you guys. I just went away. I thought, well, there's a company I don't want to do business with.
Yeah, you vote with your wallet or pocketbook, or as the case may be.
Let's see what we got. What's your opinion of Shilajit?
Shilajit, for those unfamiliar, is related to the Russian compound mummy or mumio. It is it's a sludge, actually, that is left after millions of years of mineral dense rocks, basically. And they kind of scoop this sludge out of there. And Shilajit is the Indian cousin of Russian mumio. And it does have some research showing adaptogenic properties, some research showing a slight boost in testosterone. Look, it probably is full of beneficial compounds. The question in my mind is, does it move the needle enough for the cost? And after many, many attempts and tries, my answer to that was no. I'm not saying it doesn't do anything. I am saying, for me, for the money, it didn't do enough. And so I just moved on. But that's what Shilajit is, and that's my opinion.
Yeah, I've never fooled with it. I really don't know much about it at all, to be honest with you. It wasn't. I don't know why it was never on my radar. It just wasn't.
There's something to it, and I say that because the Russians gave it to radiation poisoning victims of Chernobyl when that nuclear plant went up in, what, 89 or something like that. So there's some effect there. Is it a sports nutrition effect? I don't think so. Probably more so general health. And I would look for it in that, if you're going to use it in that capacity and with those expectations.
Is it just like a mineral? I mean, what does it actually provide?
A lot of trace minerals, a lot of amines, a lot of. I'm trying to think what's in the actual sludge itself. I can't recall. I do know that for sportsmen, they were experimenting with 10-day cycles. So you train really heavy, let's say for 10 days, and then you back off for 10 days. And they would always work in 10-day cycles like that. And it more or less worked the best in that capacity. Does it work as well as something as Raponticum? I don't think so. I know where I'm going to spend my money between those two, even though good Raponticum costs a lot more money than Shilajit.
Horned Frog, who is watching on YouTube, wants to know if there's any update on your dad's situation. He also asks if his wife has any influence over him.
Yeah. Okay. So short answer to the question. My dad's been seeing the quote unquote best in the world in Boston at Boston General for some vision loss that occurred not long after his second shot. There has been no change. They've essentially gone from telling him, hey, you're going to make a complete recovery from this early on, which I couldn't believe any doctor told any patient that, right? Well, we don't know what's happening here. You're not going to make a full recovery. This is permanent. And even amidst all this uncertainty, and he has 5 doctors, again, 5 supposedly of the best in the world. Even amongst all that uncertainty, he hasn't even got a formal diagnosis yet. They are absolutely sure of one thing. It wasn't the vaccine that did this. So look, understand that colors some of my commentary, many times my commentary on the vax issue. I do understand there are people like my wife that we're put into a position where, hey, it's your paycheck or you got to take the jab. I really feel for those folks because I know a lot of them that know the truth about what's going on, but they're still getting jabs, and it's not funny anymore. People are dropping dead. People are permanently disabled. There's
Well, apparently Justin Bieber's girlfriend came forth, or his wife, and let the cat out of the bag that his recent paralyzed side of his face is the result of getting the vaccine.
Well, her story is almost scarier than his. She came out and said, "Yeah, I had a TIA that, fortunately I've gotten a lot of function back, but I had a TIA."
TIA is a mild stroke. For those of you who don't know what this is, a mild stroke.
At 25 years old.
And TIAs, like other strokes, are caused by blood clots quite often.
Yeah, and I just lost another person that I know of that died, quote unquote, unexpectedly. Peggy Duggan, God bless you. Wonderful woman I worked with about 15, 20 years ago. Just mysteriously died. And, that follows my ex-mother-in-law and several other people that I know. So, I don't know.
Before we get to the blueprint tip of the day, we have a couple other things we have to do here. Hold on a second. Thomas Whittingham said he did business with AST Research back in the 90s until, let's leave it at that. Did you ever meet Paul D'Elia? Do you know anything about him?
I know a little bit about him. I've never met him. I know people that have and have been in business with him. I don't know. It doesn't sound like we're the only ones that had issues, and we're loyal customers.
Yeah. Well, Taylor C says, speaking of radiation, what are your thoughts on microwave food? Some claim it denatures the food. So I actually did this show when I was living in Phoenix, which would put it around 2008. It's complete bullshit. So I microwaved water, and I went out and bought 2 tomato plants, and I microwaved water, and I used tap water, and I watered both plants, and the one that I gave the microwave water did not die. It didn't grow bigger. It didn't grow smaller. It looked exactly the same. I did a lot of research into this, and actually Adele Musa helped me do some of the research, because it is true that the Germans were the first ones to work on cooking food with microwave ovens because they could cook so much more, so much quicker. The word denature has lost its meaning. When you chew your food, you're denaturing it. When the saliva mixes with your food in your mouth, it's being denatured. When you cook your food, it's being denatured. Denature is one of those words that has become spooky. And oh my God, I'm denaturing, my eggs if I don't eat them raw. Well, you're denaturing them when they hit your stomach, and the acid in your stomach breaks them down. So I wouldn't be afraid of denaturing. Denaturing may be what makes protein more digestible and available. And in that case, well, microwave wins, right? So drop the word denaturing. It's designed to sound important to people who don't know what it fucking means. I mean, everything fucking denatures food. Everything.
To me, it just means changed. Sometimes that change is for the better. Sometimes it's not. It just means that whatever compound you're dealing with, it's changed in response to some variable. It might be heat. It might be stomach enzymes. It might be saliva. So
now I will say this: if you cook with a microwave, I don't want to eat at your house, and it's not because I'm afraid of the microwave, but you can't cook in a microwave unless you're cooking food that's in plastic, like it's made for your microwave. And then I don't eat anything that's cooked in plastic.
Estrogenic chemicals.
Yeah, but like I use my microwave to thaw a Ezekiel muffin before I put it in the toaster oven, because I keep them in the freezer; they stay longer. I just use my microwave oven to warm shit up. I don't cook with it, and One day we went to my brother-in-law's house for a holiday, and he had a spiral ham. And I swear to God, he put it in the microwave for like 9 minutes. When it came out, it was so hot, and steam was coming off. And I like ham. And I waited for it to cool off, and I took a piece. I felt like I was eating a shingle off of a house.
Yeah. I'm laughing because my 90-some-odd-year-old grandfather blew up 4 of them. He couldn't figure out that you couldn't put tin foil in, or you'd leave his knife and fork in there. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, microwave ovens are great for warming stuff up. They're great for, thawing things out. I don't cook with them because I think that they rob flavor, any potential flavor, because of the way they cook. But I don't think there's anything in it. Look, how many millions of microwave ovens have we had for how many years now? Surely we would see patterns. People who eat, it's bullshit. That's my thoughts. It's bullshit. And I did do the plant, and both plants grew perfectly. I expected one of them to grow crooked and miserable or die, because that's what I was told would happen by the guy that came on my show. He warned everybody, if you throw a microwave oven away, make sure you cut the cord so somebody doesn't pick it up and use it again. It's like, I did that show years ago. Last thing I'm going to cover before we go to the blueprint tip of the day. And I've rethought it. I'm not going to do my talk at the end of today's show. I'm going to do it on a separate show because it's that volatile. It's that volatile. Some brands of Shilajit contain heavy metals. That would make sense considering what you said, where it comes from.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. There is if you are looking for Shilajit, try to look for the Primavi brand. It is considered one of probably the most consistent Shilajit that's sold in the United States and other Western countries. So Primavi is the brand. They're a raw material supplier, if I'm not mistaken. So, a number of retail products will probably use their material, and I'd look for it.
And I am actually texting Michael Venny, who is the president of Legendary Foods, for this question from Chester LP77, who's watching on YouTube, who's asking, will Tasty Pastry come to Europe through some supplement stores? I just texted him. So he usually gets back to me pretty quickly. So I bet he'll get back to me before the end of the show. We're going to run a commercial break. When we come back, we have the blueprint tip of the day. Stay tuned. The Hercules Pre-Workout from Lost Empire Herbs is like no pre-workout you have ever had before. Completely natural formula designed specifically to optimize workouts, provide quicker recovery time, provide adequate nutrition, and get you away from all those no-good, overstimulating pre-workout supplements on the market today. The Hercules Pre-Workout blend is a mix of extracted natural herbs and mineral pitch. No fake colors, no added flavors, nothing else. Not only will Hercules Pre-Workout formula help your workouts, but you'll likely discover lots and lots of side effects, beneficial side effects. Go to shrnetwork.biz/Lost Empire today to learn more.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at Synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
Dogs should be powered by fat and protein, not carbs. That's why Visionary Pet makes low-carb, ketogenic dog food for dogs of all breeds and life stages. From kibble to freeze-dried and even low-carb treats, all Visionary Pet recipes are very low-carb, ketogenic, and made with 100% real meat protein. Shop now and use code SHR for 20% off your first order today. Your dog deserves the lifelong benefits of optimal nutrition. Make the switch to Visionary and see why smart dogs eat low carb.
If you've listened to Superhuman Radio for any length of time, you know I'm a big proponent of peptides. One of my favorites is GHKCU, the blue copper peptide. It has the ability to repair and regenerate more youthful expressions of skin cells, reversing the signs of aging. Restore Cell's Stem Cell Awakening Serum, along with their other products, contain potent formulations of blue copper peptide and only the highest quality organic ingredients. Superhuman Radio listeners can now save 25% site-wide. Buy their complete set and receive a free exfoliating cleanser. Go to shrnetwork.biz/blue and use the code SHR25. That's SHR25. Remodel your skin today. Are you suffering from signs of an unhappy gut? Diversity is the key to healthy, robust inner ecosystem. Body Ecology probiotic liquids are made by fermenting organic seeds, biodynamic brown rice, and chickpeas together to create a diverse culture found nowhere else on earth. It's the secret to restoring your gut's microbiome for a healthier digestive tract, improved immune function, and longevity. Take 20% off by visiting the website shrnetwork.biz/bodyeco. shrnetwork.biz/bodyeco. That's BODYECO. And using the code SHR20. If you've listened to Superhuman Radio for any length of time, you know I'm a big proponent of peptides. One of my favorites is GHKCU, the blue copper peptide. It has the ability to repair and regenerate.
This is the Superhuman Channel. Evolution just got kicked up a notch.
I figured I'd save everybody hearing that repeat commercial because I want to talk to you about something else. I want to talk to you about your underwear. I have never experienced underwear like sheath underwear. Sheath underwear has multiple pouches in the front pouch. I don't have them on today, and I can tell you it sucks because I have traditional underwear on today that just take my junk and squish it up against my body, and nothing is separated and nothing is comfortable, and it sucks. But the folks at Sheath Underwear are geniuses. They actually paid attention to our anatomy. They were like, okay, you got this little thing that sticks out over here. We'll just call that a wiener. And then you got this bag filled with balls, and we'll just call that the bowling bag. And none of these things like to be squished. And so they have a pouch that you can put your bowling balls in, and they got another pouch where your wiener can go. And everybody has autonomy and is happy. And when you take your underwear off, nothing is squished. Nothing is squished together. It's fantastic. It's a game changer. The only way to experience it is to try a pair. If you go to shrnetwork.biz/sheath underwear, SHEATHUNDERWEAR, and use the code Superhuman, you'll save 20% off. And you will never wear regular underwear again, I promise you. And there's one other thing I want to mention. Donna Gates is coming on either later this week or next week to teach us how to make our own kefir. And it doesn't have to be milk. You can make it with coconut milk. You can make it with almond milk. Like, this is so important to us today, especially with it becoming harder and harder to find stuff at stores. I've been using the liquid that she makes. You can see the little bottles there. I've been using the Cocoa Biotic. I take it at night before bed. I love this stuff. These are legit products. And when we learn how to make kefir, there's no excuse for you not to have kefir in your home for everybody in your family. So look forward to that show. Okay. And now let's get on to the topic at hand, which is the blueprint tip of the day, which is, there we go.
Yeah, it's about preventative maintenance for your body. So this past Wednesday, I went for my annual physical, and this is my HRT guy, or outfit, I should say. They do incredibly comprehensive blood work, the most detailed I've ever seen, which I recently got back. I'm really happy about about some of the numbers, in particular vitamin D, which is now 86. As part of that physical, though, they also do a complete physical and neurological workup, along with something I found rather novel: spending time and talking with you for an extended period of time, right? There's usually some small talk, right, when you're in to see a doctor, but that wasn't the case this time around. He rather early zeroed in on something that he did not like, and that being my spine, which I said, look, I know. I recently saw an X-ray maybe a month ago, and you didn't have to be a chiropractor to know, that back is not in good shape. At least it isn't straight. But here's the real kicker. He says, "Come on, we're going to go height and weight." In 1 year, I've lost almost a full inch in height, and so now I'm officially a shade under 6 feet tall. I've never been self-conscious about my height, but that lost inch really bugged me. And I'll tell you why. It was, I think, the first and most obvious marker I've had as to your physical decline, right? I mean, this is part of they say part of getting old. But still, it was the very first time something like that was in my face. It's like, hey, man, it's here. Still, it was entirely my fault. And why? Because I was neglecting regular chiropractic adjustments. I was neglecting to see how much weight I was carrying on each leg by stepping on, 1 foot on the scale, which is easy enough to do because, I just never had time for it. Right. And here's why: 99% of the time for that year, my back didn't hurt. Right. So why bother getting an adjustment? I'm not in any pain. It just fell to the bottom of the list. Now, forget the fact multiple people, including my wife, would see me from behind and they would all tell me, they're like, "Hey man, you're crooked." I kept hearing that word. You're crooked. You're crooked. Forget the fact that I would catch myself, tilting my head to one side all the time, especially when I was reading or writing, which I do a lot of. And forget the fact that I was well aware, and I think spoke last week even, to the importance of spinal alignment to nerve transmission and ultimately strength. So all these things, in my mind anyway, were easy to dismiss, especially again when there was no real pain. Which reminds me of of a quote that I saw in the chiro's office once. It was, "If your spine was on the front of your face, you'd get an adjustment every day."
Hmm.
And that never left me. So it wasn't difficult to see what's needed here. I have recommitted to optimizing my spinal health, and that means regular, weekly, and in fact daily things to improve it. And yes, I ignored the issue for a year, but a year isn't a decade. It's not a lifetime. Bone can be moved back into place by skilled hands. Right. This is the genius, I guess you'd say, of chiropractic and what makes it unique. What can they do that an orthopedic surgeon can't? A good chiro, I should say. So weekly adjustments from
And
now
I
on.
know a lot of orthopedic surgeons that like to talk shit about chiropractors because they're jealous, most likely.
Yeah, the crazy thing is the chiropractors have so many more hours of anatomy and physiology and to become a chiropractor. It's nuts.
I don't know if that's true compared to an orthopedic surgeon. But what I am
Well,
saying is that orthopedic surgeons always like to poke fun at chiropractors.
yeah, and to my mind, chiros always worked harder. Why? Because they kind of had that grudge. The orthos didn't look at them as real doctors, right? So I always found that chiropractors went way above and beyond what "quote unquote" most real doctors did. So I need to do that. I need to certainly remeasure, not just my height, but how much weight I'm carrying on each leg. And recapturing that inch of height, that's not as big a concern as neural function. And the weight distribution that I just spoke of. And frankly, posture. This comes down to posture. The posture that I'm in now as I do this show, leaning forward, is god awful. I mean, I looked at the MRI studies. I wrote a whole thing about this. You're actually putting more pressure on your spine in this position than you are standing, leaning over, and picking something up, if you can imagine that. So, I saw what happened to my grandfather as he aged. It was painful to watch. Old timer was so stooped over at one point at the end, his spine was parallel to the floor. And by that point, no doctor would touch him, right? Because he's in his mid 90s, and they're afraid of what would happen. Now, I will not be making that mistake. To be fair, he wasn't aware of the benefits of chiropractic. There just weren't many around, when he was younger. That, and he certainly didn't have the money at that time anyway to see one. He didn't come from much. Fortunately for me, I am in a much better position to take advantage of everything that they have to offer. And I only wish I had gotten him to one earlier, because trust me, it's painful to watch him, someone you love that much, in that much pain. It was awful. So the lesson remains, and here's what I'm trying to get across. Don't just ignore something because it doesn't hurt. If you know you have issues with, fill in the blank, and especially if you're hearing it from other people, make sure you get whatever it needs to be, addressed. Get a professional to look at it. Get a plan to
Sorry
fix
about
it.
that. Sorry.
That's okay. Look, it's just like changing the oil in your car. Regular maintenance in your body is just as important. In fact, I would argue far more so. The last thing I'll say is I forgot to answer the second part of that question about my dad. Does his wife have influence over him? She does now, because I've been texting her and arming her with the truth. And it's hard when the truth is in your face, and you've been on the wrong side. In fact, that's probably the most difficult thing. He made a mistake, and that's not easy to admit. Not just him, a lot of people. So
Thomas
anyway.
Whittingham points out inversion 3 to 5 minutes a day, and I was going to say that, but give him the glory for saying it. That's the truth.
I was during the commercial breaks. That's what I'm doing, man.
Yeah, there you go. And then Horned Frog says, I used to be 6'2", now I'm 6 foot at age 67.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's the changes.
And as we speak, Michael Vinny is texting me. Who asked me the question about Europe tasty pastry? It was Chester LP, I believe. Let me see. There we go. So let's see what he says. He's actually typing. I'm watching him type right now. I said, I have a live listener question. Are you going to be selling tasty pastry in Europe? So it's obviously not yes, because that would have come through already. The little bubbles, the little bubbles are moving. And I'm talking about you on the air. Oh, gotcha. No, not presently, but we will be in the UK shortly, probably another 45 days. We're trying to roll out to the EU on Amazon. That's exciting.
Smart, too. Very smart.
Okay, so there you have it. If you are in Europe, you should be able to, in about 45 days, a month and a half, 2 months, buy tasty pastries through Amazon in the UK. So if you can buy stuff on Amazon in the UK now, you'll be able to buy tasty pastries, and you'll be able to find out what we've been talking about for so long.
Whole new market.
Sean Watson says he just got his inversion table.
Good
for you.
Yeah.
And of course, Chester LP77, who asked that question, said that's good news. And last question comes from Craig Hollander. He says, "Hey Rob, have you researched the acronym ELDOA to create space in the vertebrae? It's used by many sports teams now." I've never heard of it. What is it?
No, that's a new one on me as well. Now, clearly, though, the issue that he's bringing up is a great one because, um, as I spoke to several weeks ago, right, the vertical compression of your spine, just walking around, never mind doing what we do with strength training, it's an insult to the spine, and over time, there's not as much space there, and when there's not as much space, things rub against each other that probably shouldn't, and things start hurting. So I would be really interested to know what this is and how it works.
I'm sorry, I'm still texting with Michael.
Yeah, that's okay. No, I was going to say, all of these things that are being brought to the forefront now by the audience is a great example, right, of how we learn too. And if I can pick up that little tip and use it in practice and it keeps my back healthy, well, that might mean another 5 years of being able to ambulate around like I want to when I'm older. So
yeah, being able to walk as you age is a pretty important thing.
well, I mean, I saw it happen again with my dad. He had 2 trips to Alaska under his belt, and then he started falling apart physically and refused to do anything about it, despite my many attempts to get him. And he doesn't get off his couch now, never mind Alaska. It's just not happening. And it's sad because he was a big golfer and he was a good golfer, but that's all been taken away from him.
There you go. Craig Hollander put up a link, ELDOA. It's the eldoamethod.com, it looks like. Obviously, these are not clickable links you're looking at here, but maybe you can write it down and check it out.
I'm going there now. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Craig. And thanks to everybody who is here live today. I was going to talk about a subject today, but I'm going to pass on it. But I will talk about it someday. But I don't know if it's the appropriate thing to talk about on this show, but it's something that really bothers me. I grew up in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. First crush I ever had was on a black girl who was also Puerto Rican. They called them Morenos because she was black and Puerto Rican. Her name was Nancy Torres. And the first friendships I ever had were with black kids and Puerto Rican kids. So I can honestly say that I have felt love at a very young age for people of color. And I still do. I have a lot of friends from when I was a kid that I still keep in touch with who I truly love. And I'm so tired of this whole Roe versus Wade thing. This is a scam. This is a scam from the politicians. And if you take the time to learn where Planned Parenthood came from, and I don't want to influence you, I want you to look it up. If you take the time to Google the words the Negro Project, if you take the time to read, now go to the wiki page, because if you go to Planned Parenthood, they whitewash this whole thing. Oh, Margaret Sanger was a saint. She wanted to help the poor black people in the South by helping them kill their babies, of course, because that's how you help poor black people, right? What do you do? What do you do for poor black people? You help elevate them, get them jobs, educate them, help them become more upwardly mobile, or no, that's a lot of work. Let's just get them to kill their babies. And this is exactly where Planned Parenthood started. Margaret Sanger got a donation from one of the guys who started Procter and Gamble. Here, hold on a second. I'm going to put this. Fuck it. I'm going for this. I'm probably going to lose a lot of friends.
I have to get the dog out. Wife's going to be home soon.
Okay, if you want, I'll drop you right now. You want to go?
Yeah.
There you go. Clarence James Gamble gave the first $20,000 to Margaret Sanger so that she could start the Negro Project. And Clarence James Gamble was a huge advocate of birth control and eugenics. Now, for those of you who don't know what the term eugenics means, it's kind of like what Hitler did, right? So Hitler wanted to refine the races. Hitler felt like we got way too many fucked up people. Let's find a way to kind of eliminate them. Well, how do you eliminate them? Well, you control mating. You control who can have babies and who can't have babies. And if people have babies that you don't want to have babies, then you get them to kill their babies. This is eugenics. I'm not making this shit up. And the idea that Sanger's vision was the Negro Project should make everyone realize that she was racist. Because there were lots of poor people back then. There were poor white people. She didn't start a program for the let's help the poor people. No, she wanted to eliminate the overproduction of young black babies. That was it. And that is exactly what Planned Parenthood started from and is today. And, you know, a lot of people don't like to admit that they vote Democrat, and the Democrats really are the racists. They really are. I know there's a lot of black people out there who believe that there was the big switch, that at some point in time, the Dixiecrats, who are all the racists, the one that wanted slavery, somehow woke up one morning and had an epiphany, and they said, "Oh, we love black people. We're gonna be their saviors." And the Republicans, vicariously at the same time, they said, "Well, we're gonna hate black people now." And there are actually stupid people who believe that theory. And Margaret Sanger came along after the quote unquote big switch that everybody believes after the Civil War. But we're arguing about a woman's right to choose. A woman's right to choose what? To kill her baby. Let's be honest what this is about. Because those women, 99% of them aren't at risk of dying delivering a baby. And they've got 12 weeks to get an abortion, the first 12 weeks. Why are they waiting to the second and third trimester to abort the baby then? And if we're all really honest, and I know it's hard to be honest because we sound horrible. When we're honest, we sound horrible. That baby is a big inconvenience. It's a big cost, a big expense. And quite frankly, those people, the taxpayers, bear the brunt of raising their children. So Margaret Sanger saw this. She saw this problem coming. And she decided to help black people kill their babies. 19 million babies have been killed, black babies specifically. Now think about this. We keep saying that black people are 12 to 13% of the population. That wouldn't be true if Margaret Sanger didn't help them kill their babies. They wouldn't be a minority today. So I just want to put this out there because there's a lot of facts out there that are not being talked about today. Another fact that's not being talked about today, that under Bill Clinton from 1994 to 2004, we had an assault weapon ban. The DOJ and Bill Clinton signed into law that we're going to stop selling, trading, and making available assault weapons for 10 years. And then we're going to go back and review what we learned. And depending on what we learn, we will move forward and maybe never allow assault weapons to be available again. So AR-15s and all these assault weapons were gone for 10 years, from 1994 to 2004. Don't believe me? Check it out. The Department of Justice, after the 10-year ban, said they contributed nothing to gun violence. And we got assault weapons back again. But we have so many stupid fucking people who are just unaware or just believe anything that they're told. I I want to ask these politicians, what do you expect an assault weapon ban today in 2022 to do that it didn't do in 1994 to 2004, in 10 fucking years? What is it going to do? And I know where they're going with this. Semi-automatic is the magic language. Watch what happens with semi-automatic. Anything that's semi-automatic is going to be banned. They just want to get people fired up about assault weapons, and these people are too stupid or too myopic to know that we already did an assault weapon ban, and no one in the media is talking about it. Wouldn't there be one person in the media talking about Bill Clinton's assault weapon ban? Wouldn't there be one person in the media talking about the origins of Planned Parenthood, the Negro Project? I mean, if I was a black person, I'd be fucking angry. What do you mean the Negro Project? What do you mean that you set up clinics to help black mothers kill their black babies? Like, that's just sinister. You have to hate black people to do that. You're not helping black people by doing that. You help black people by helping them get educated, helping them stand on their own 2 feet. That's what Martin Luther King wanted. Martin Luther King just wanted equal treatment for black people. That's what he wanted. He didn't want special treatment for them. He just wanted you to get out of their fucking way and let them live their lives. That's what he wanted. I wish he was alive. I'd like to ask him, when Margaret Sanger started the Negro Project, what did you think of it? What did you think about this idea that black people had to be new births and black children had to be curbed? It's like we spay and neuter dogs and cats that are stray because we don't want them making more dogs and cats that are stray. That is how they looked at black people back then. That's fucking horrible. And I'm telling you right now, they look at black people that way today too, the Democrats. They absolutely do. Absolutely do. Because you got people like Nancy Pelosi worried about black people getting guns. She's saying, oh, yeah, and Joy Reid said that. Joy Reid said that on the View. Oh, yeah, you think nobody wants gun laws now. Wait until black people start getting guns. That was like one of the biggest, most racist fucking things I've ever heard her say. Like somehow give a black man a gun and forget about it. Chaos is going to break out. Meanwhile, we have a lot of black gun owners out there that are protecting their families from other people. I'm telling you, they use racism, the Democrats, to keep black people voting Democrat. But the racists are the ones you're voting for. Votes have become the new cotton. Instead of you picking cotton and then they give you your money and they give you your place to live, they give you your food, which is how the plantations ran. Now the government says you vote for us and we'll give you your money and we'll give you your food and we'll help you raise your children. Votes are the new cotton. And more black people are waking up to this. This isn't, I wouldn't have said this 5-10 years ago, but I have a lot of people that I communicate with online. And I was just talking to the girl who was cutting my hair, black woman. I got to tell you something. The reason that the Democrats have moved over to the LGBTQ community is because most black people are done. Most black people who live in Baltimore and Detroit and under these policies that just create more crime and poverty, they got it. They figured it out. They're like, these people aren't helping us at all. And so the Democrats have to go find another group to pander to use as the lightning rod, to create division in the country, to motivate their voters. It's so sad because it's only going to get worse. And people are struggling. I know so many people are struggling between gas prices and food prices and every friggin' thing. It's like, but this president does not give a shit about you or me. I'm sure he gets plenty of money on the side from Ukraine and other people, China, who knows who else he's selling us out to. They are the elite. They're making the money. We are not. We're the hardworking class, and they're just trying to crush us and make our lives harder. So there's two topics I just talked about. Do your own research. Look up the Negro Project on Wikipedia and read about the people behind it and what their objectives were. And keep in mind, they worded it in such a way to make it sound like they cared about black people. But if you care about black people, why are you trying to stop them from having babies? I'm not going to say anything else. You're intelligent people. And don't get caught up in this bullshit about this assault weapon ban. We did this once already. It did nothing. Murders were still out. Columbine happened during the assault weapon ban under Obama. So think about that. You're being lied to. If nothing else, you should be fucking mad. All right. See you tomorrow. Thanks for being here.